Hello, good morning. We're on day 91. It's so super exciting because I'm almost there. I'm almost at 100 days. And don't worry, those of you who are saying, I look forward to this every day and what am I going to do? It's not going to stop. I'm just going to get way more consistent about it. So in the future, I'll tell you when I'm going to show up live and we can actually have a conversation rather than me just doing this as an exercise for myself. And I appreciate that you're all here and that you're watching and that you're commenting. That is super awesome. And I'm really, really grateful and appreciative that you do that. And that said, this 100-day video series was really an exercise that I put myself up to because I wanted to see what would happen. I wanted to see, could I do it? It's really scary to do a visibility challenge like this. I wanted to test myself on B, what's my commitment to myself? What's my commitment to my community? What's my commitment to me living in my truth? And that is even scarier. And so if you were here yesterday, you know that I saw the play Hamlet, which was really a great production. And it starred a woman as Hamlet. And it was really about how do we embody our power as women. And it was also about how do we be true to ourselves. So after yesterday, I came home and I actually looked up two of the things that really jumped out at me in the play. And one of them are these words, which is a super famous quote you've probably heard before: "To thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not be false to any man." This really strikes me because from the personal development space, how often are we not being true to ourselves? And what I have discovered in my own experience and in working with thousands of clients is that, and as a filmmaker, where I've witnessed thousands of people and traveled all over the world making documentary films and listening to people's narratives and the way that they talk to each other, what I've discovered is that we very often do not be true to ourselves because it doesn't feel safe to be true to ourselves. Hey, Leslie, so happy to see you here. And when we're not true to ourselves, we are betraying ourselves. We're actually robbing ourselves of our freedom. And I'm really kind of on a tear about this because it's Independence Day in the United States tomorrow, where we are celebrating our freedom and we're celebrating being told what to do by other people. In the United States, the Independence Day celebration is because the people living in the United States declared themselves free of the rule of Britain and of the Queen. And we wanted self-empowerment. And yet in this country, in the United States, and indeed around the world, so many of us are still not giving our inner authority, right? You have your inner authority, that's all you have, and every single one of us has it. And yet we unwillingly give it away to other people, to culture, to society, to people that we think are smarter or richer or more accomplished or whatever than us. And the truth is, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you're free to disagree with me, but in my opinion, every single one of us has everything we need already within ourselves. There's nothing outside of ourselves that can give us what is not already alive within us. The value of being in community is that we see other people demonstrating qualities in ourselves that we've been shut off from. And that inspires us to take action because we see somebody else doing something that we want to do, and then we're like, well, wow, if she's doing it, I can do it. Aloha, beauty. Hi, nice to see you, Katrama. So this message, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not be false to any man. It's just such a great invitation. Thank you, Shakespeare, for writing this 500 years ago, because when we're not true to ourselves, then we end up not being true to other people. And it really starts with us being true to ourselves, us honoring what feels most in alignment for us. And when we get out of alignment with ourselves, when we shut ourselves down, then we tell other people, okay, I'm going to be shut down, you be shut down too. And I am a huge advocate and an ally and a side-by for people who decide they want to take the action that allows them to be true to themselves. It can be scary for sure. It can be threatening to other people for sure, especially if you have grown up in a family or are working in a job where you don't feel empowered to make your own decisions. You don't feel empowered to think what you think and feel what you feel. However, when you start dialing up your own truth thermometer internally, when you start making your decisions based on your own vibrational field of what feels good for you, what feels joyful and pleasurable and fun for you, other people are going to start to be drawn to that, and other people are going to start to see it. And a lot of us have huge blind spots around that. I'm sure I have a huge blind spot also, because we all do, right? I mean, part of our design is that we have a blind spot. We literally have a blind spot, which is where the optic nerve attaches to the brain, and that creates a shadow, and literally there are no sensory cells in that part of the eye because the nerve cell is there. So there is literally a blind spot in our physiology, and it shows up in our emotional space, in our intellectual space, in our spiritual space, where we can't see what we can't see. We can't know what we don't know. And thank goodness that we have each other so that we can support each other in illuminating those parts of ourselves that are invisible to us. The second quote that jumps out to me from Hamlet is this, and it's when Hamlet is totally in a tiz, he's totally in a knot, because he says Denmark is a prison, and he feels like he's imprisoned in his own house because his uncle has usurped the crown by murdering his dad, and has also usurped his mother, and Hamlet is totally in a knot about it. And what he says is so smart, it's so zen. He says, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And I know this is true. And y'all who have been watching me for a while, especially those of you who are quite a ways down this path of spiritual development and transformation, and beginning to lean more into your inner authority by giving more credence to what's going on within, and less credence, less power to other old messages that you've learned. I know this is true, that it's all the context that you put around it that creates either a feeling of expansiveness and possibility and connection to something bigger, or a different context which creates constriction, fear, anxiety, self-sabotage, self-animosity, self-doubt. You can have the exact same thought, but the context that you wrap it in will determine how that thought feels in your body. And nothing is good or bad, it just is. And the context that we put around it by our thinking is what creates ease and joy and freedom, or what creates a feeling of being imprisoned. So that's what I want to share with you today. And I will say more about this tomorrow, because tomorrow is Independence Day, and I'm all about moving more and more towards freedom, which means being free to be me. It means trusting my inner authority. It means building a business according to the rhythms of nature, because the rhythms of nature are universal law. They're universal rhythms. Whether you're looking at it from the perspective of chemistry and physics and biology, or you're looking at it from the perspective of quantum physics and the quantum field, and access to spirit, God, prana, life force, chi, whatever you call it, it doesn't, so that again is context, right? The essential quality of freedom that we're talking about is what I'm after. And it's what I am creating in my life every single day. And it's what I know that you all are creating in your lives too, or you wouldn't be here. And the reason that I know that is because there is something called magnetism. And you all have magnetized me, and I have magnetized you all, so that we can be in this journey together. That's really how it works. If you think about playing a stringed instrument, when the stringed instrument is in tune, right, when it's attuned, when it is in tune with itself, everything vibrates in frequency with it. And so think of this connection like that we're all in the same frequency. We're vibrating in resonance with each other. And that's a really great thing to remember, especially when you sometimes feel disconnected, because you know what? We all do. And, strings go out of tune, right? A stringed instrument, if it's in a dry climate, is going to get out of tune. A stringed instrument in a very humid climate is going to get out of tune, because the moisture, the humidity, the environment affects things. And yet it's possible to tune your own string every single day, which is to thine own self be true. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I want to share. Have a super awesome day. Heart, 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 heart to you. Much love to you. Let me know what you're going to do to cultivate freedom in your life. I feel like it's so important that we uplift each other and that we be in these conversations together, because you can't be free by yourself. Right? None of us exists in isolation. And so this idea that I'm free and other people are enslaved, or I'm free and other people are going to do work while I sit on my butt and binge watch Netflix, that's not something I would do anyway. But whatever the thing is, if you have a conversation that your freedom requires other people not to be free, that is not freedom, in my opinion. And again, you're free to have a different opinion. But what I'm talking about is what I'm watching nature do, which is nature goes through cycles where everything is blooming. And you know what? The lilacs bloomed before the roses, and the roses bloomed before the clematis, and the clematis bloomed before the Russian sage. Does it matter? No, it's all blooming in its own time. And every single one of us is blooming in our own time, which gets back to my original invitation to thine own self be true. How do you choose to be true to thee? That's my question and my invitation and my blessing. Have an awesome day, and I will see you here tomorrow. Lots of love.